let me ask you a question. What's the most difficult video game you've ever played? Maybe it was Cuphead and this dumb frickin' dragon. Maybe it was an 8-ball pool game against your granddad. Or maybe it was some other thing, I don't know. But out of all of the difficult video games, one company stands above all when it comes to the most soul-crushing games out there. Pun intended. And that, of course, is FromSoftware. But to be more specific, I'm talking about the Dark Souls / Demon Souls / Sekiro / Bloodborne / Elden Ring type of games. You get the point, you get the point. In the past few weeks, FromSoftware has had their claws in my little gamer brain. I got sucked back into the land between Miyazaki's butt cheeks with Elden Ring, played that shit till I was purple, then I thought, I remember Sekiro having different combat, so maybe I'll replay that one. And then my brother booted up his old Xbox, so I booted up Dark Souls 1 to introduce him to that game. And then a couple days later, I said, you know what? Dark Souls 3. So yeah, we've been playing quite a lot of these kind of games recently. Now, I've always been drawn to difficult video games, and I'm not sure why. You see, I'm just shit at games. I don't know what it is. On most multiplayer games, I'm at the bottom of the leaderboard. I've been playing Hotline Miami, which is a 5-hour game, but I'm seeing almost 8 hours and nowhere near the end. Even piss easy games mess with me. Stardew Valley. Yeah, you heard me. Stardew Valley even got to me. I don't know how that game... It's not hard, I just didn't know what to do. I just spent all my time fishing. Hell, when I was a child, I couldn't get past World 2 on New Super Mario Bros. An update, I still can't. My lack of skill when it comes to games, maybe because growing up I always had to be player 2 and my older brother, being player uno, was always going to be better at me at whatever game we played. And I must have just accepted that at some point. But seeing where I am today, and still pretty bad at most games, I puzzle myself on why my favourite games of all time are FromSoft Souls Zero Ring Trilogy thing, I don't know. Oh yeah, and Cuphead is also one of my favourites, and that's a hard game. So I guess my point still stands, but put your little teacups down, because we ain't talking about that. We're talking about Elden Ring and Shark Souls. Also, just a disclaimer, if I mention any one of these games in this video, as in, you know, the FromSoftware umbrella of games, just know that I mean the series as a whole. So if I say Dark Souls, then I also might mean Elden Ring, and I also might mean Sekiro, but I don't know, you know what I mean. Now, creator Miyazaki, no, not that one. Yeah, that one. This guy's beautiful little gamer brain seems to have one thing prevalent throughout his video games, and that is the difficulty involved in playing them. Now, if you've never played one of these games before, then for one, I hope this video can persuade you to give them a go. And two, I'm sure you've heard how goddamn hard these games can be, and it may have even put you off spending your hard-earned V-Bucks on picking one of them up. And this debate over the Souls series difficulty goes all the way back to the first game, Demons Souls. Demons, plural, Souls. From the time that game was released up until Elden Ring, and then some, many criticized its difficulty just as dumb bullshit designed to make you kiss your heckin' grandma. What? Why would you do that? Why did I write that? I'm really tired. Anywho, Plural Souls started this back and forth between people who understood how the difficulty is kinda the point, and those who went to the Skelly Boys at Firelink and got their booty handed to them.
No, I almost did it, man. Almost did it.
Also, that was Dark Souls 1, but you get what I mean. Some thought it needed an easy mode. Some complained that the games asked for too much time from the player, with little progress being made, and some players even kissed their heckin' grandma. Ew, gross, blah. Let's face it though, like the difficulty of the Souls games or not, it's pretty much the main piece of the whole gamer pie. And on my recent binge of Elden Ring, I noticed something about the franchise. Something one could say is philosophical. No, I in no way claim to be a philosopher, nor a thinker, a wizard of some sort, or a big brain being, but I must say, I do dabble in using the old cranium every now and then. And sure, I may as well throw up the disclaimer that I may say a couple things wrong here and there, and I may be teared in the comments for it, but, you know, I wanna live, Marge. Won't you let me live? So there I was, playing some Elden Ring, getting clapped by this guy, then I stopped. And the only question that came to my mind was why? Why is something so set on making you feel defeated over and over again so popular? What exactly is the appeal of these games? You try and try again, only to move on to a new area and a new boss, and try again. Even if you succeed, there's just another thing waiting around the corner, waiting to whoosh, you know, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And sure, you souls heads out there might just say the timeless phrase of get good, but why should I even do that? Video games are meant for entertainment and fun, and while I love these games, and of course I have fun with them, I'd ask, when exactly do I? Is it in between dying over and over again from a boss, or having to run begrudgingly back all the way just to try again and die? I don't know. All I can ask is why. But this reminded me of someone. A little goofy French guy by the name of Albert Camus. And yeah, I'm talking about Camus, sue me, I don't care. Now, Camus' whole shebang was to do with what he called the absurd, and the absurdity of asking why. He also loved cigarettes so much that he named his cat Cigarette, but that's just because he's that quirky little guy. I don't know where I'm going with this one. Anyway, Camus donned his thinking cap and questioned the meaningless of trying to make sense of the universe and the absurdity of life. We ask why, but all we get in response is the unreasonable silence back from the universe. And this juxtaposition between the gravity of mankind asking why and the complete unresponsiveness of the universe put many folks and philosophers into a sort of existential crisis. But not our friend Camus. Instead, he saw things a little different. In his 1942 book entitled The Myth of Sisyphus, Albert Camus talked about the Greek myth of Sisyphus. Well, yeah, duh, Jensen. And to give you a little recap on that, basically, way back when, there was this little guy named Sisyphus who got into a little trouble with the gods, and as punishment, Zeus forced him to push a boulder up a mountain for eternity. With every time you got to the summit, the boulder would roll back down, and the act would repeat. Push it up, it rolls down. Now, this is one of the more famous of the Greek myths, as many have made the correlation between Sisyphus' tedious task of the boulder to everyday life, and the monotony that comes with it. But not Camus. Perhaps his most famous philosophical idea comes from the end of the previously mentioned book, in which he concludes that the struggle itself is enough to fill a man's heart, and one must imagine Sisyphus happy. You see, Camus says that Sisyphus must be happy because he has accepted his fate and accepted the absurd. He knows what will happen when he gets to the top of that mountain, and as he walks back down to fetch the boulder, Sisyphus must be joyfully shouldering his burden before making his ascent once again. Sisyphus pushing this boulder is Camus' representation of the absurd, and the question of why. Sisyphus is mankind questioning the universe. No matter how much we ask why, and no matter how much our boy Sisyphus pushes that boulder, we will never find the answer, and the boulder will always roll back down. Which brings me back, believe it or not, to Dark Souls. Now, hear me out, freaks and geeks. I feel that the difficulty from FromSoftware games is our absurdity. We as the player are Sisyphus. We begin the game, fight a boss, maybe die a few times, only to move on to a new area, go for a new round of suffering, and another boss, and more suffering, and more death screens, and more frustration, and more of this guy throwing doo-doo at me. We push that boulder up the mountain every time we take on one of these tasks, just to die, or even kill the boss, or whatever it may be at the summit, and then have the boulder roll all the way back down as we move to a newer, even more difficult part of the game. But we keep coming back. That's Miyazaki's design. If we must imagine Sisyphus as happy, then we must imagine the player as happy. And truly, we don't need to imagine. I and many other players of the Soulsborne Ring series of video games are very much happy. This process I related to the boulder of boss after boss and suffering after suffering is what drives us to play more and become content with our own fate when playing. I know that it may take a lot of dying, and I know that when I finally beat that boss, there's another one waiting around the corner, and when I beat that game, there's a sequel or a Sekiro or whatever you want to say, ready to be played around the corner, but damn, I'm happy. We can see this correlation between Sisyphus' boulder and the Dark Souls series in particular in the game's narrative. Okay, so I did my research on this game to try to actually understand the lore of the Dark Souls series, and I'm sure there's a whole iceberg that me, Jack and Rose have only seen the tip of, but for any of you that don't know, this is the basic story. So, you play as the chosen undead, who must go here, there, and everywhere killing bosses and whatnot to finally rekindle the first flame. A dying flame that, if not rekindled, will burn out and usher in the Age of Darkness, which is bad, ooh. However, at the end of the game, you are given a choice. You can choose to rekindle the flame and prolong the Age of Fire, which is what you're currently in, or let it burn out and let the world die. But here's the thing. That flame, whether rekindled or not, as all fires do, will burn out eventually, making your journey ultimately pointless. It's absurd. The cycle will continue whether the flame burns out or not, as another undead will rekindle it, or whatever, or a new Age of Fire will start. I don't really know, but I know that it's pointless. And this pointless cycle of the game's story reflects the player's constant struggle of dying over and over again, and also reflects Sisyphus's constant struggle with the boulder. And as I already said, I'm happy. A couple days ago, as I recorded this, I skipped my last class at college and went with a couple of my friends back to one of their houses to play some Dark Souls 3. Now, I don't recommend skipping classes, stay in school and all that, but I'm just setting the scene. Anyway, we loaded up the game and started playing with the intention of passing the controller every time one of us died. Very fun way of experiencing the game. If you want to play with the bros but not deal with all the online stuff, do this method, it's pretty good. Anyway, we begin playing and I kid you not, that controller wasn't passed to me for about an hour. One of my friends just went fucking gamer mode and ran laps around the game like it was no one's business. Beating bosses first try, left and right, knowing exactly what to do and where to go and what items to get. He didn't seem like Sisyphus at all. He was in no means facing eternal suffering. He had got good. But how? Well, there's another philosophical idea we could throw into this video, and that is the idea of Stoicism. Now again, I'm not the thinker, okay? My philosophy knowledge goes about as far as listening to a couple podcasts here and there, and some Sisyphus 55 videos. But, as I was saying, the idea of Stoicism is dealing with suffering, and not letting these hardships get the better of you. I don't know about you, but I think that sounds a little like Dark Souls. Watching my friend run all the way to the third area of... Well, there he is, he's calling me now, geez. Sorry, the guy I was talking about just called me. Anyway, watching him run all the way to the third area of the game with hardly a scratch on him, then to die to this Black Knight and say, oh whoops, showed this idea of not letting the pain and suffering get to you. Understanding that you are supposed to die in the game is the point of progression. I mean, there's literally a version of Dark Souls 1 called Prepare to Die Edition. Like, come on. One could say that to truly get good, the player must become a stoic. Okay, that was dumb, but hopefully you can see where I'm coming from. And to finalize my point, I want to end this video with a little story. Once, I knew a guy, and I'm pretty sure he watches these videos, so my bad if you're watching. I'm not trying to out you. Please don't be offended. Okay, you'll see. No, this friend was very kindly gifted a game on Steam from another one of our friends for Christmas. And that was a little game by the name of Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. A very pricey, very thoughtful gift that the gift giver was a big fan of and wanted this guy to play. And he played it for maybe 20 minutes. The game just didn't click. And I mean, it's not gonna after 20 minutes. These games take time to learn the combat and the timings, and it takes time to understand the absurdity of the difficulty, and the stoicism involved in not letting the shadow die more than twice get you down. If you have even the slightest interest in playing any game under the FromSoft umbrella, well, I mean the Souls-like FromSoftware umbrella, then please do. Do it. It takes some time to understand, but those that persevere, those that learn to accept the absurdity and the inevitability of death and the progress that comes with that, are the ones who truly experience what these games have to offer. Very often, those that break through the shield and accept the game for what it is, put these games in one of the top favourites, and I know I do. But as for my friend that got gifted Sekiro, he refunded the game, and that was that. To be honest, I'm pretty sure he refunded it because it was pretty pricey and he felt bad that some guy had spent a lot of money on a gift that he wasn't really going to get his use out of, so fair enough, like I get that. Again, not trying to throw shade, this was just because I needed a little story to end the video. But anyway, Yeah, you get what I mean. These games might not be for everyone, but how do you know if they aren't for you if you don't even try? And remember, while you play, try to imagine yourself happy. Or just be happy. It's a video game, you know what I mean? Anyway, thanks for sticking around. Sorry this video took me a while. I've been dealing with some school stuff and that's all done now, so hopefully I can get back into making videos, and I got some big ideas for this summer. So yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want, you don't have to. And please, please, please leave a comment, because they are my favorite part of making these videos. Alright, bye.